life is like a pyramid. A lot of people are at the bottom of the pyramid. Very few are at the top of the pyramid. They call them the 1%. There are a lot of skilled people at the bottom of the pyramid. Very talented people. Because they think that talent is all you need in a space. But beyond talent, you need an image. You need... so I'm also a pastor, right?
Yes.
So let me give you this. So, and Jesus grew in wisdom, in stature, in favor with God and man. It's in the Bible, right? You grow in wisdom. That's developing skill, knowledge, knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But growing in wisdom, without growing in stature, you won't have the attention to attract men to your wisdom.
Oh, wow.
So image must match wisdom. There are things that somebody will say here, and they're like, oh, but somebody else says it and you clap.
The same thing. Well, it's the person
the
saying
image
it.
Of the person saying it that made the wisdom make sense.
Welcome to Voices with Victoria, the series that unlocks the power of resilience. Join me and industry experts as we explore career development, human capacity, nation building, and entrepreneurship.
Hello, everyone, and it's another exciting episode of Voices with Victoria show. Of course, I'm your host for today, Victoria Undu, and I have here with me in the studio. I mean, this is a mighty man. Like, before I even met him, I've heard so much about him. And it's such an honor to have him here in the studio to share. And I'm certain that this conversation is going to be helpful to you. I'll be doing a brief bio so you get to know who we have here in the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to introduce our esteemed guest for this episode, none other than Mr. David Ogunshola. He is a true visionary at the intersection of technology, education, entrepreneurship, and faith. Mr. David is not just an entrepreneur. His work is not confined to one realm, but beautifully intersects ministry, as I've said, and the marketplace simultaneously. He is the founder of Early Founders Lab, Dave Shopper Incorporated. I don't know if I got that right. Yes.
That works.
And Brainy Hive Schools. And he shapes the future of education. He's an author, pastor, and mentor. And his influence spans across continents. With a heart for service and a mind for innovation, he empowers others to thrive. So join me as I make welcome with every ovation you can muster while watching this digitally, clapping, smiling, standing ovation. Let's make welcome my guest for today, Mr. David Ogunshola. Such an honor to have you here today.
Victoria, it's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you for saying yes. How do you feel, sir?
I'm good. I'm very excited.
Great. So let's get right into the conversation. Okay. I cannot wait. So, like they say, first of all, introduction. So beyond this bio I've read, beyond the powerful mentor that we know you to be, who is Mr. David Ogunshola?
I think you've said, well, the description works, the bio works,
okay. But
I'm just this guy, just trying to find my place, trying to find my voice, trying to make my one life count the most.
Amazing.
And I think that's what summarizes it. So that's what I think gives me the liberty to go into different spaces, cross industries, because I'm just trying to find where can I make the most impact with my life. And
amazing.
Just one person trying to make the best of his life.
Amazing. Just one person trying to make the best of your life. And then I would like to know, can you tell us about sort of like a defining moment or experience, maybe while growing up, that sparked your passion for growth and innovation, where you are now? What led, basically the question is, what led to who you are now?
Okay, interesting question there. So I had my background, my upbringing is as normal and average as it could get. Nothing spectacular about.
But you were born with a spoon. Now the question is it a golden or a silver or wooden spoon?
Okay, so I think I consider myself privileged in the sense that I come from a very strong spiritual heritage.
Great.
So my parents are missionaries.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so I was born as a missionary kid, grew up in places that were not exciting to grow up because of the work my parents did. So looking at it, if you're trying to measure the spoon in terms of maybe wealth, influence, affluence, I wouldn't know. I think it's as average as it could get.
Okay.
But I think the flip side of it is that the spiritual heritage I came from, the background was quite solid. More like knowing that you have parents who are planting seeds that you're going to harvest all your life.
Yes.
you know you're sure that there's a spiritual background protecting you, somebody praying for you, all of those things. That's as solid as it comes. But the question you asked, what was the defining moment
for you?
I wouldn't say there was one singular defining moment. I think I'll call it a chain of events that shaped my values and probably created a drive in me. And it's when you happen to grow up in environments where you find yourself being, I don't want to use the word, no, marginalized is not the word.
Okay.
But you don't think that everything that comes to you is what you deserve. Or let me put it another way. You find that people are able to get advantages that you can't get. Not because they are smarter, not because they are better, but just because some odds are in their favor. So people are getting scholarships based on where they are from. And because you're not from there, you can't get those scholarships. And it's not because they are smarter, really. And opportunities come not because you are not qualified for them. So somehow that set a drive in me personally to create my own luck, to create my own platforms. So if I can't get on the platforms that people are creating because of nothing wrong that I did, just because the odds are not in my favor, so I create my own odds. It pushes you to have to be outstanding, pushes you to have to. So I think that's where I can say the drive comes from, really. Because I have to stand out in a world where basically you are responsible for your own self.
Amazing.
Yes.
Talking about creating your own luck, so for individuals who are looking to accelerate growth in their life, what are the strategies? What are the practical tips? Are they habits, or what do you need to do to sort of like create your own luck in a way that accelerates growth, whether in your personal life or your business or whatever it is that you do?
Yeah, so I think it starts with a mindset of telling yourself that I'm not disadvantaged. Yeah. If you're playing in an industry, for example, I found myself in an industry where what you're doing to take off the ground, to get off the ground, you need some form of support, prayer from investors, from people who are able to give you that lift. And this is an industry where those key decision makers who almost kind of determine whether your idea takes off have created a set of criteria that, okay, you need to have, they're taking bets more on people than on ideas. So, and what they're looking for is not what you have, not just because life didn't deal you that card. So maybe they're looking for people who have gone to some special kind of schools, maybe studied abroad, have some networks, and you didn't go to those kind of schools because who chose the school they went to, by the way? Those are just situations you found yourself in.
True.
So you now have to ask yourself, okay, number one, I'm not disadvantaged. Number two, I'm not going to fight the system, sort of. True. I mean, this is not what you want. You want to make your own mark here, right? You have ideas you want to push. So it's a mindset first. And then when you have that mindset, you now begin to look for loopholes. Now begin to look for opportunities. You're an underdog. So you're a David looking for the hole in Goliath's helmet, saying, where is the easiest entry here? And sometimes you just need to have a different kind of view. You need to see things differently in the industry. So I'm in tech, great ideas, great products, trying to get seen, but the kind of people that we need, that we think we need to get seen, are not seeing the product because maybe we're not the kind of people they're looking for. So find a loophole in the industry, which is exactly what we did, and found our own loophole, which eventually meant us creating an entire industry.
Wow, true.
And eventually now you get the attention because you're now doing something that nobody else has seen, nobody else is doing. So just those, but it starts from the mind, really.
Amazing. So now moving on from that question, let's talk about, a high value, because you talk a lot about it. You're a high value individual. What are the defining characters, or what do people need to do to become a high value individuals, right?
High value individuals. So I would think of, let me abstract it to the lowest form. I'll think of three things.
Okay, great.
That define high value individuals for me and for most of the people I work with who go after high value talented people. Number one is result driven. You just have to be someone who gets things done. There are a lot of noisemakers around there. People analyze problems a lot but don't solve problems. We just need people who get things done. At every level, everybody wants people who generate results. So you just need to be able to have that commitment, not to talk, but to action. So if there's a problem, you're not trying to analyze the problem too much to say, make presentations about the problem. No. How do we solve this problem? That's one. Consistently solve problems. Number two, consistently growing. Such that the problems you solved yesterday, you can solve bigger problems tomorrow. Even if you are a creative problem solver, you're result driven. If your results remain at the same level, you're going to get to a point where your value drops. I mean, people are not going to need you anymore. But you need to be able to solve bigger problems, solve tougher problems, solve more complex problems.
True.
And that means that you yourself must be evolving, must be growing, must be advancing in whatever it is that you're doing. So one is result driven. Two, I think growth. You are growing. We consider you're evolving. And thirdly, I would say loyalty. Yeah, people need to be able to count on you. People need to be able to depend on you. If your loyalty cannot be trusted, your people are just they're gonna use you, but with a long spoon, sort of, because they can't really count on you.
They're very careful
but
with you.
I think that if you have these three things, you're not the kind of person anybody wants to delete on this phone. Yeah, everybody's going to need you because you generate results, you're improving, you're growing, and they can depend on you. And I think everybody needs you.
Yeah. Okay, so now, stemming from this question about people, right, being relevant to the point where people want you in their space. Now, let's talk about mentorship and let's talk about networking generally, not just mentorship relationship, but high-value relationship. Because I know that to be a high-value individual, you need to be surrounded by other high-value individuals as well. So again, the question is, what are some strategies, very clear strategies or steps or advice that you have for people who are looking to be high-value individuals or who are already high-value individuals wanting to get into the space with other people? So the question is effective networking and effective mentoring relationship. How can people get into that? What are the strategies to get into that?
How you get into high-value mentorship relationships,
yes,
networking relationships. I think the first thing I would say is bring a lot of value to the table, bring a lot of value to people, and be selfless. Not in the sense that you don't know your worth, but in the sense that not everything is money. Money is a consequence. Money follows things. You don't chase money. Money, you attract money. And you attract money by value, by becoming valuable and being in the right environment. So you want to ensure that you've won the hearts of people to the point where they just know that they can count on you, they trust you, they like you. Those are, I mean, people call it favor, people call it whatever name you want to call it, but you get there because people know that when they need you, you're not going to give them, you're not going to ask them to jump 3-kilometer high walls because they need to access something from you. You know, so I have friends who, they're doctors, but maybe you have a child who is sick at home and you are free to call them because somehow they've made you understand that, hey, I'm a doctor, you pay for my time. So even though they are your friends, you are thinking, no, I don't want to call this person because they've monetized everything. They may not have charged you, but they've given you that vibe that, you know, I mean, their post on social media tells you know, all of you people that are calling doctors for free, all of those kind of things.
You know, they are targeting you somehow. They're targeting their
even
friends
they're not
as
targeting
well.
you, yes, but you know, you know that this sub is aimed at you.
Yeah, there's a sub.
There's a sub there, and you have owned it. You're like, okay, let me do my day. And somehow you may never tell those kind of people that. You may never tell them, oh, I'm avoiding you.
But there's a wall
somehow
already.
there's a pinch of salt that relationship already has. Now, people shouldn't see you that way. People should be able to assess you. People should be able to, eventually, the opportunities that will bring big breaks, major business, will come out of those relationships. But you just need to be able to.
Amazing.
I mean, so this weekend, one of my mentors is doing his 60th birthday and is having a major lecture at a very big event center in Lagos. And he sent me a 28-page document 4 days to the birthday saying, David, please, I know that you are a busy person. He knows how busy I am. But he says, I need you. You are the one who can make my slides. I need to make an impression. So I make great slides. I do trainings on making slides. I've trained this company for staff on making slides. But he says, this one, I want you to make it. 4 days to his birthday, I'm in the midst of recording a course. I have 4 speaking engagements over the weekend. I'm asking myself, And the man says, I know you are busy, but I need this from you. Oh, I made time.
Yes.
I had to make those slides. So I told him, you know what, sir? You give me 2 nights. I'm going to walk across. I can't walk in the day because my days are filled up. But in the nights, and true to my
Such
word,
sacrifice.
between 11 and 3 a.m. for 2 nights, there was nothing I was doing. I worked on the slides and I delivered. The birthday is happening right now, so speak.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So it's for me, those are the ways that I walk my way into those kind of people's lives. Now, in a sense, how do I put it? He owes you, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he owes me one.
Yes, he does.
So there's a day the day I need to request a favor. I'm going with confidence, knowing that.
Yes.
Sir, I need this.
Yes. So people are trying to reap from where they've not sown. It's just like you're demanding from the ground to produce where you've not even sown. So people are trying to leverage relationships they've not built. So that's what I hear you.
Yes.
Amazing. Now, you mentioned, early founders. Permit me to let's talk a bit about that. Yeah. Because, entering a field that is new, right? I mean, the tech industry is not new, but trying to implement it in a way that hasn't been or haven't been seen or is not popular. That means you're moving to an unknown territory. So what advice do you have for people who want to become experts in a particular industry? It's a new terrain for them, or is a new terrain generally. What are the insights, maybe from your own journey, that they can implement to accelerate their growth process in those areas?
So getting into a new industry is quite interesting. I have done that. So
Yes.
background is in tech. I moved into the leadership space, and I moved into the education space.
Wow.
So this is me trying to do this 360 round. And when I saw the need in education, when I became aware of the education need, I felt that this was something that somebody else should solve. And I began to look for solutions. So somebody should have done this. I needed to introduce computer programming to our school at an early stage from primary school. I just felt somebody should have built a curriculum. Somebody should have written textbooks. I began to look for books and I couldn't find. I began to check online, nothing curriculum based. I began to travel different countries. So just checking out conferences, what's available. And I sat and said one day, okay, somebody has to solve this problem.
Wow.
So if nobody is solving the problem, I remember I just came back one time from Nairobi. I'd gone for a conference in Kenya, and it was an EdTech conference. And one of my uncles was like, "What are you even looking for all around the place? Sit down in one place." And I said, "Sir, this is what I'm looking for." So how was it? I said, you have no idea. In fact, in that conference, there was not even any Nigerian there. Wow. So what I'm even looking for, I'm the only person even making that noise.
Wow.
He looked at me and said, "This is your chance to own an industry."
Wow.
Now that line got, so I asked him, "How do you own an industry?" And then he began to give me some. He said, "No, well, so many things he told me, but I'll just mention one of them." He said, "If you want to own an industry, go in loud."
Go in loud.
Yes, go in loud. Don't go in timid. Don't go in as if you need anybody's permission. Go in and say, "Look, I've got this. I own this. This is my space." Be the voice. Be the number one voice they are hearing in that space. And I figured, okay, we need to get this done. But so I began writing those books. I began building curriculum. Of course, took me back. I went back to school to go to another master's degree just because. And now, why did I need to do that? I knew what I was going to do in this space, but I also needed the legitimacy. I needed the image that backed up my work. So if I pull out my resources and they say, okay, who created this? Who is the guy self? What qualifies him to write books? I needed the gravitas.
Yes.
Look, I'm qualified to do this. I went to take certifications, postgraduate degrees. By the time I was done, when you read the profile behind the book, you would just believe that this guy knows what he's doing.
Yes, absolutely.
There's no way you think I'm second guessing myself.
There's a confidence that comes with capacity, and yes.
You get it. So in an industry, going to a new industry, one, get the skill, but the skill is not enough. You also need the image because yes, you need the image because most times people see life is like a pyramid. A lot of people are at the bottom of the pyramid. Very few are at the top of the pyramid. They call them the 1%. There are a lot of skilled people at the bottom of the pyramid. Very talented people. Because they think that talent is all you need in a space. But beyond talent, you need an image. You need... so I'm also a pastor, right?
Yes.
So let me give you this. So, and Jesus grew in wisdom, in stature, in favor with God and man. It's in the Bible, right? You grow in wisdom. That's developing skill, knowledge, knowing what you're doing. Yeah. But growing in wisdom, without growing in stature, you won't have the attention to attract men to your wisdom.
Oh, wow.
So image must match wisdom. There are things that somebody will say here, and they're like, but somebody else says it and you clap.
The same thing. Well, it's the person
the
saying
image of the person saying it that made the wisdom make sense. So entering an industry, don't focus just on the skill. Focus on building an image, building a brand in that space, networking with the people that are in that space. Let people in that industry recognize you as not an outsider. So I come from tech into education. Education guys see me as a tech guy entering our space. But eventually, I need to have built enough network and social capital in that education space so that they see me as one of them. So those are just a few tips. You're trying to enter an industry to build expertise, focus on skill, focus on image, and then that's where the favor with God and men, networking, relationships, people who know you. How do you get speaking engagements in an industry? How do you get opportunities? People need to know you. And these people, before they give you stages to speak on, they must have met you casually, informally. It's in a casual conversation, they're like, man, I like the way this guy's thinking. This guy needs to come and talk to my team, or come to talk at our conference, something like that. So there's that networking, that relationship building, that branding. It's an entire
ecosystem to that.
Yes.
Amazing. That leads me. I want to ask a question because you mentioned about image, and I haven't actually thought about that verse in that light where Jesus Christ grew in wisdom, then stature being, image, and that leads me to a quote that says, perception is more powerful than reality.
Okay.
How people perceive you, how people see you is more powerful than who you truly are, in a sense. But of course, you need to align both, right?
You need to match
yes.
both, yeah.
So now that's my question about image. So where is now the thin line between, I need to put up an image where people can accept me, where people can know that I am this, that, and faking it. The point, the question I'm asking is, with this online space is very easy to put up who you are not, and not to be authentic. So in a guise to put up an image where people can respect you or listen to you, what's the thin line? I don't know if you get the flow of my question.
I get your question.
Yes.
But there's no line.
Okay, there's no line.
There's no line. You just have to have both. It's a function of content and container. So you have fantastic content.
Yes.
In a badly packaged container.
Oh.
Nobody will even be attracted to the content because the container is not inviting.
Yes.
So they won't even have a chance to experience the content. But if you also have well-packaged container
absolutely. This
but
is the
bad
question.
content,
Exactly.
they will buy once. When they taste rubbish, they won't come again.
So you make your mouth finish, they would come and experience you. And
when they
once
experience that there's no content here, they have gone. And it's hard to make a first impression a second time.
Wow.
So it's while you're working on the content, work on your container.
Yes.
Both need to go side. That's why I say it's not a thin line. It's you. The two must come together.
Yes.
You must have content and you must have the
container.
image that attracts people to that content.
Yes. Now let's go back to the conversation we're having. The way you're talking and your bio is like you've got it all figured out. Like you've never had a moment where you're like, oh my God, what is this? Maybe while growing up or even in your journey now as a professional. What are some of the hurdles? Have you faced any hurdles or challenges on your journey to becoming who you are now? And what are ways you've skipped over those walls? For people who are listening now, probably going through a phase or a season in their life, in their journey of becoming whatever it is they've set out to become. I want you to just encourage using your own story as a reference point.
Okay. So I think that the hurdles
Yeah.
actually turn out to be our biggest advantages.
Oh.
So there's this image I see on social media, like an experiment where somebody drops two balls.
Okay.
One is rolling down a straight curve or slope, and the other has this slope that goes in and comes out, goes in and comes down. And the same distance, but the ball that goes in and up and down actually gets to the end faster than the one that goes through a straight slope.
Oh, wow.
So your life is actually faster when you even have more challenges.
Oh.
If you never have any challenge, you're just going to go at one constant speed through life. But you see, when you have to overcome a hurdle, you build extra momentum. It's like a car to push up. And once you've pushed up, by the time you overcome that, the speed with which you climbed up, you descend the next slope with it, you have given people space. Which I say the hurdles actually turn out to be our advantages, really.
Wow.
So yes, we have had lots of hurdles. Okay, for example, now I'm building in a space where we have practically bootstrapped everything we are building in terms of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
You know what it means to bootstrap everything? You're building with zero external funds. So you must have a way to optimize for talent, optimize for marketing, optimize for everything. The advantage eventually is that, okay, so using my own example, because I don't have the luxury of money to just go and display and attract and employ people, I learned the art of vision casting. Okay. So I cast a very clear vision of where we're going, make it so compelling, and I attract people who buy the vision. Now, when people, because they know they know this guy has no money to give us. This guy is painting a picture of tomorrow, and we believe in that tomorrow.
Yes.
The kind of people you attract, you can't get them when you have money.
Oh, true.
So eventually, you come up with a higher quality team because you didn't have
Who are not
money.
dependent on money. They're not
Eventually, you will pay
money.
them,
Yes.
but you know the advantage you had is that what attracted them is not the salary, it's the vision.
Yes.
Now that's an advantage. So I think that the team I have, if I had money to employ people, I won't have that quality of team because I would have employed who I could pay.
Yeah.
But now I end up employing those who buy the vision. So that's why I said the hurdles turn out to be advantage. In every disadvantage, it actually is an advantage.
Amazing.
So you're going through hurdles in life. Thank God for those hurdles. You are lucky. Those who don't have them, they still get to where they are going, but slower.
Slower. Amazing. I like the illustration you just gave, and it's just a profound insight that you shared there. I know this is off the conversation I wanted to have, but yeah, you're an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. And I want you to talk to business owners. Especially in these times and seasons, everybody, this thing is hitting everybody at, different levels, right? I want you to share, how can business owners still have their head up above the waters?
Okay. you have to, but this is what I think.
Yeah.
When you understand that what you're doing is not just for you. So when you're in business, I used to talk about two types of businesses. There are transactional businesses and there are transformational businesses. So a transactional business, you're just trying to make money and just make money for yourself and all of that.
That's it.
But a transformational business is the business where you're making money, but you are making an impact. You're changing lives. It's not free. People are paying you.
Yeah.
So if you see your business from an angle that this business is doing more than just paying my bills and making me rich, you will go the extra mile.
Yeah.
This is a season where things are tough for businesses.
Yes.
So I run business with my wife. And so sometimes we're in the husband and wife box. Another time we're in the business partners
I'll ask the
box.
question on how you guys go around that, but that's after this.
The next time in the business partners box.
Yes.
So we're having a conversation just this weekend as business partners. I'm like, okay, I think that the stage that we're going in now is we looking at, because policies were just released, CBN has passed the policy on banks and all of those things, and we're trying to analyze what will be the effect of all of it, how it's going to affect our businesses, how it's going to affect the next 2 years of the economy and all of that. Just realize, okay, if you're in business in this season, you need to optimize for cost cutting.
Yes.
How do you minimize your expenses right now? That's one way to stay afloat, because it's easy to say, charge the customer more, but there's a limit to how far we can go with that.
Yes.
Because these customers are not getting more money in many cases, those who have fixed salaries. So you have to find a limit to how much you can bill it to the customer. Prices are increasing. Is there anything you can do to still give your customer the value that they are paying for without increasing their costs? Without increasing the price of your products? And you could actually, if you creatively find ways to cut costs. So we're now thinking, okay, where are our cost heads? What can we do? What are alternatives we can find? Now, we're doing this because we're thinking about our customers. We're thinking about the people, the value we provide. We want these people to keep having it. So I think as entrepreneurs now, this is the time to be creative. This is the time to find new ways to do old things. Meanwhile, of course, they say this, everything that works will one day stop working. So maybe now is that time when the methodology we've been using is expiring.
Yes.
Maybe it's time to look for
new ways. COVID-19 taught a lot of people who felt they could not do virtual things, or even companies that could not do remote, they had to find a way. You innovate or you die. Yeah. Just it.
And this is that season again.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you so much for that. So going back to the question I said I was going to ask, you're doing you have a business with your wife. Yeah. For people who are, trying to do family businesses, maybe with their spouses, how do you maintain that balance that it doesn't affect the hurdles or the challenges or the issues in the business is not reflected in the home? How do you still have that great relationship with your wife, your children, your business does not affect the home front as well?
Okay. There's something I talk with my team about. We call it productive compartmentalization. So you have different boxes.
Okay.
For someone like me, where I run multiple businesses and maybe do different things, and everybody really, all of us, there's nobody who can say that you only do one thing. Even if you are working somewhere, you have other boxes of your life that are very important, your relationships, your family, and all of that. Productive compartmentalization is just this ability to be in one box at a time
Wow.
When you are inside that box, give it 100% of your time. Give it effectiveness. If you're going to spend 2 hours working on something, they'll be there, spirit, soul, and body for those 2 hours. Tick those check boxes so that when you leave that box, you're not in another box thinking of
The last
box.
previous. Oh,
Finish with it and go out. So you're able to switch, make that switch. So for us as a family, my wife and I, we're able to know when we're talking as a couple
yes.
and know when we're talking as business partners. Conversation. It's not husband and wife conversation.
This is business partners conversation.
So the objectivity that we should bring to it, let's leave husband and wife. And in those, when we're in that box, we can argue. It doesn't mean that husband and wife are arguing. We're trying to make
Business
a decision.
partners,
It's a
yeah.
business decision. So after
Yes.
that, I say, no, babe, this is not it. Leave sentiments aside. Leave emotions aside. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at the numbers. What does this... we're able to go back and forth. And sometimes we have those conversations not alone, with other people.
Team members as well.
Because this is a business.
Yeah.
And in that season, on that table, we understand that these are two directors in a business deciding for the future of the business. When we are done with that, husband and wife again.
Yes, you can continue the whole.
You get it.
Amazing. Yes.
So just being able to define those boxes and make those switches. And there's one thing I also like saying. Multitasking is like juggling balls.
Yes.
This illustration changed my life.
Okay.
When you find people who juggle balls, maybe you're juggling 4 or 5 balls at a time. The whole idea is to ensure that all the balls are in the air.
Yes.
Now, when all the balls are in the air, understand that at every given time, there are no more than 2 balls in your hand.
Oh wow.
Even if you are juggling 5, 6 balls, at every given time. So you're juggling, if you are juggling 5 balls, at every time,
You
2
must
are in
have
your
to-
hand,
yeah,
3 are in the
in
air.
the air.
So understand that you cannot always be in control of everything. There will definitely be some things that for a season are out of your control.
Equal to.
So your job is make sure that before it falls down, you've let go of the next thing so that the hand is free to catch the other one.
Wow.
So understand that it's a touch and go thing. You're never anywhere 100%. Now, something will always suffer. The day you want to spend time at the office being a great boss, you may spend less time at home. Your kids may miss you for a while.
Yes.
At that moment, your family is suffering so that you're building the business. The key is to ensure that the same thing is not suffering every time.
Time.
Because once you hold on to one ball too long,
The
other
others will
balls
fall down.
So it's a touch and go thing. So family, business, ministry, ensure that you're giving each of them adequate time. There are days I'm going to miss a meeting as a pastor. Maybe a leaders meeting, something in church or ministry. And because I realize that, okay, today is the bad day for ministry. So let ministry suffer today. Let me be a good father. Let me be a good entrepreneur. Some days, you know what? I leave my office and say, I have a meeting in church. So office today, suffer. Some days I'm like, I travel for something. Today my kids are going to miss me. Family, suffer small. But the whole idea is once you let the same thing suffer all the time,
That's where the
problem is going to come from.
Yes.
You're going to have problems from that area and you may end up losing that compartment.
Amazing. I'm sorry, we have to just touch a bit of family before we go, because I know that you're very great with children. You are in the education sector. You have you and your wife own a big school, one of the biggest, I dare say. Let me even mention Brainy Hive schools in in this part of Nigeria, Akwa Ibom, Oyo. What is your advice for parents, whether single parents or both parents, on how to train? I know there is no one size fits all, and there is no one, but there are certain principles that we could, especially in this world where this season is a whole lot.
Yeah.
So what are your advice for parents, basically?
So I think the first thing that parents need to know is that the generation our children are growing in is different from the one we grew up in.
Yes.
And we're preparing them for a future that we can't even predict. This is a challenge for parents. It's a challenge for educators. When I talk to our teachers, I tell them, the biggest problem you have as a teacher? You are preparing a child to succeed in a world that you don't know what it will look like.
Wow.
None of us can predict the next 10 years, the next 15 years. But you're preparing this child for that world.
Wow.
So you see, and same thing with parenting. This child, the world that our children are going to grow up in. So the methods that worked for us may not work for them.
Yes.
But understand that there's a difference between missions and methods. Missions are constant. Methods change. Yeah. Transportation is a mission. methods are different. There's keke napep, there's taxi, there's
Oh, wow.
plane. They're all methods of transportation.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are going or what
You can
era
now
you
use
lived
a
in or
different
what the
method.
circumstances is, you can decide on the method.
Method.
But the mission is the same. Get people from one place
To
to
the other.
another place. So when it comes to raising children, whether as educators or as parents, the goal is to equip this child with all that they need to be able to succeed whatever tomorrow brings.
Yes.
Whether they find themselves in any part of the world where they've never been to, they have all that it takes to succeed. So find out what are the core necessary things, what are the core values that they need. So look out for things about behavior, about attitude, about mindset, about character. Build those solid foundations. And when it comes to particularly skilling children, I encourage parents, expose your children to a lot of things early. So there's a book called Creating Innovators by Tony Wagner. Great book.
Creating Innovators.
Creating Innovators by Tony Wagner. Great book that I think every parent and every teacher should read.
Okay.
In fact, when we employ in our school high-profile people at level, one of the first things, there are a few books that you must read once you join the school. That's one of the guys who give teachers, read this book. So there are a few of them, but that's one of them. Now, that book studied the profile of innovators, people who are breaking barriers and are innovating in industries, and studied them backward to their background. And we realized that there was something in common with almost all of them. When they were children, they had exposure to a very varied background of skills. They did football, they did music, they did tech, they did drama, they did all of those things. They say innovation usually comes in from people outside an industry. Now, when a child has learned all those things, your child has been exposed to coding, to music, to dance, to sports, to all of those things as a child. When they grow up, even if they become doctors or they become any industry they go into, they're able to tap from a very wide array of experiences to bring into their current profession. It gives them an advantage anywhere in life. So there's and then the last thing I'll say, if you're a parent, knowledge. You need to. Parenting is one job that they gave you without training. You know, when we're getting married, most churches do what they call pre-marriage classes.
Yes.
And everybody, at least they give you small training. It's not sufficient to.
It's not sufficient, but
But
at
at
least
least,
they do
at
something.
all, they give you something. But
True.
you see that parenting one, the day you deliver a child, everybody comes to come and eat rice. And they
they
celebrate
leave you with
and
your
they give you one that nobody taught you anything about.
Yes.
And these children, they don't come with manual.
True.
So you have to keep on figuring these things out. Your children are going to display tendencies that you were not prepared for. How do you manage it when it happens? Sometimes you may need to go back to read a book and say, okay, how do you manage a child at this stage? So my child is going from 10 to 12. There are specifics with children at that age.
Yeah.
You can't be ignorant. You can't outsource it to somebody.
True.
You need to go and read the book on that.
Absolutely.
How do I? So a child starts showing some rebellion. What do you do? All of those things. So knowledge is key. You need to keep updating yourself as a parent.
Amazing. I just wish that this conversation can keep going on because I want to know more. I want to get more. But at this time, because of course, you're a very busy person and we need to, wrap this up. I want you to give us final words. What that one thing or two things or three things that you want the viewers to leave from here, to take home? What is the take home from this conversation?
So I think that number one thing you should never forget is that, you see, in life, all tables were meant to be used. All chairs were meant to be sat upon.
Absolutely.
The irony is that there are a lot of chairs in life that people we grew up through life assuming that somebody is going to invite us to those chairs. But many of those tables and those chairs, the people who are sitting on them simply carried themselves and went there. So there's something that has to do with courage. If you're going to stand out in life, fear is going to do you more harm than a lot of things. See, fear has stopped more people than the devil. So just, if there's a way you can... Fear was designed to keep us safe. Yes. Fear was designed to keep us alive.
Yes.
But that fear has become a disadvantage. In the desire to stay safe and stay alive, we have stopped taking bold moves, stopped making new moves, stopped venturing out. I think one thing that you should do is that dream you have, that aspiration you have, fearlessly pursue it.
Yes.
If there's one thing that you should remember, fearless, courage, just go out there. The world creates space for a man who looks like he knows where he's going.
Wow.
So just go. And how do they think you know where you are going? It is the confidence with which you come. If you come looking timid, they just tell them, say, this one doesn't know where he's going, block him. But so there's a book called The 50th Law by 50 Cent and Robert Greene.
Okay.
So 50 Cent said that a bold and audacious act, when people see somebody making a bold move, somewhere in their subconscious, something tells them, they get within this guy. No, there's something backing this guy. Yes. So there are two options. They either back up or they support you without even knowing what is driving you. Just the act of audacity tells them, the audacity of this guy. If we can't,
get within
this guy. No,
align.
Better align. Is that you support this guy or you clear road?
Yes, so.
But once you come and you are like, excuse me, take that home.
Amazing. Well taken. Thank you so much for sharing. I've had such an enlightening and insightful conversation with you. I hope we do this again. I hope you give us the time again, and then we'll get more than we can. Thank you so much for joining and watching up to this point. Please do well to follow our speaker. I'm going to put the links in the comment section. Do not forget to also like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on Instagram at Voices with Victoria. Also at David Ogunshola on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and everywhere. And thank you again. Until next time, bye for now. Thank you so much, sir.
Bye. Thank you,
bye.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Voices with Victoria. Please like, leave a comment, subscribe, and share. Cheers!